Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rules well. Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Paul. The title of the video is Caspian Sea's receding water levels. All right, and all around the world, are you having different places that's different rivers and lakes and dams and things that are losing water, right? And all these are effects and signs of the end, right? The Most High showing His strength and His power and allowing us to measure the times diligently in itself. What I found interesting is that the Caspian Sea, Russia is trying to figure out what the hell is happening with the water levels being so low. Right, this is just all effects and signs of the end, because the Most High Yahweh controls all. And these are signs that we look to, right, to determine the end. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 1. It says, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I've told thee before, then shalt thou understand that this is the very same time wherein the eyes will begin to visit the world which He made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. Now, I'll pause on that. Russia reported, I was looking over here, as you can see right there, magnitude, 5 earthquakes. All right. So you got Pakistan, which is kind of controlled, or in the same area near, Russia. So you got one over there. Mind you, we just had the one that hit Venezuela. Now we got the one that hit Colombia, and now they're reporting earthquakes over there. You got this one that hit El Salvador's coast. All right, so earthquakes happen all around the world. So again, measuring the time diligently, 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 1 again, it says, He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I've told thee before, then shalt thou understand that is the very same time wherein the highest begin to visit the world which He made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, right? We see that too, uproars of the people, they're upset about how things are currently going. Right, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things in the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world at the beginning and the end is manifest. Even so the times also the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And this is beautiful, because what you're going to see in that scripture is that in the beginning, everything was made perfect. So the effects and signs of the ends is things out of order. Different things that you wouldn't imagine, like earthquakes, and low water levels, different things like that. See this article right here. It says Russia calls on Caspian littoral states, the surrounding, I believe, countries, right, states to address Caspian Sea's receding water levels. Let's get this word right here. Okay. So it goes into a coastline. It says the definition is relating to or situated or going on or near a shore, especially the sea. Right. So many different nations share the coastline of this, which is a lake. They call it a sea, it's a lake. So Russia calls on Caspian states to address Caspian Sea's receding water level. So it's to a point where it's like, we need to bring attention to the fact that the water is missing. says there is currently no single significant scientific it's like an explanation for the causes of the Caspian Sea's receding water levels, which is why it is necessary to pull the scientific and technical capabilities of all Caspian states to gain a clearer understanding of the process. All right. It says one cannot overlook the well-known issue of the Caspian Sea's receding water levels. It says at the same time, it's important to remember that fluctuations, right, in the Caspian Sea's water level have occurred in the past and were cyclical. We get this word too. Okay, so cyclical says moving in cycles, happening again and again in a regular order or repeating predictable pattern over time. It says in nature, there is currently no single scientific explanation for the cause of the present day drop in water levels. So it's like, yeah, we used the up and the rise, but now things is out of control, right? Under these circumstances, it is crucial to pull the scientific and technical capabilities of all Caspian states to gain a clearer understanding of the causes behind the Caspian Sea's fluctuations, right? Develop forecasts, ensure the region's environmental safety, and implement practical measures to minimize, right, the damage caused by climate-related changes. All right, and ultimately, it's the Lord. Hey, they want to figure it out. They want to know. Russia is asking questions. Everybody's surrounding in the area. The Lord is doing this. When the Lord created everything, everything was perfect. All right. This is Genesis 1:20. Start at 1:19. It says, in the evening, in the morning, were the fourth day. And Yahweh said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Yahweh created great whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind, and Yahweh saw that it was good. All right, so he didn't make the waters to be, missing or declining. It says, and Yahweh blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. Right? In the evening and the morning were the fifth day. All right, so he created everything, right? And he said what? This is Genesis 1:31. It says, and Yahweh saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good, right? In the evening and the morning was the sixth day. So everything he created was good. So as you can see, they're saying this is a crucial situation right here. So this is something that's not good. That's because the Most High, Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shad, is doing this, right? Isaiah 50:2 says, wherefore, when I came, was there no man? When I called, was there none to answer? Is my hand shortened at all that it cannot redeem? Or have I no power to deliver? Behold, at my rebuke, I drop the sea. I make the rivers a wilderness. Their fish thinketh because there is no water, and drive the thirst. It's just in scripture, points to the fact the Lord can do this. And we should already know that, right? T says, Isaiah 50:2, why was no one there when I came? Why didn't anyone answer when I called? Is it because I have no power to rescue? No, that is not the reason, for I can speak to the sea and make it dry up. I can turn rivers into deserts covered with dying fish. So the Lord controls all, and he does these things. And what we're witnessing now is just the effects and the ends, right? The effects and signs of the end when you have, different lakes and rivers and whatnot drying up, all around the world. You got dams drying up over here in America, the Caspian Sea drying up over there, Euphrates River drying up. Many different places are drying up. And, again, these are just effects and signs of the end. All right, so let's get a little bit of this. This is a free use not making any money off of this, content here.
Something strange is happening right now in Central Asia that has so far escaped most of the world's attention. The Caspian Sea is the largest inland body of water that can be found anywhere in the world. Placed over the United States, it would stretch roughly from Los Angeles in the south all the way up into Oregon and Idaho in the north. With no natural connection to the rest of the world's oceans, the Caspian is technically the world's largest lake, both by surface area and by volume. It is bordered by 5 countries: Russia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Iran. And tragically, the Caspian Sea is rapidly collapsing to the point where in just a few decades from now, it'll probably be completely unrecognizable from today.
And it's important too, because as these things dry up at whatever pace they dry up, remember when these individuals build like their docks and all of these different things, they build it at sea level or water level, lake level, whatever the case may be. So now if you have something drying up, you have to rebuild the thing that you built, and all of that. So it's a major problem for these, nations. And let me grab this while I'm at it then, because, the Most High is visiting this place, right? This is Baruch chapter 4 and verse 30. It says, "Take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoice at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children serve. Miserable is she that received thy sons. For as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting line to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time." Now he's talking about, of course, America, but all these nations, had a part in our downfall, right? And they're all going through it. They're all heathen nations. As you can see, that lake over there is surrounded by many different countries, or nations, people. And like I said, they're gonna have to rebuild the ports and these different things so they can dock their ships and all of that.
Based on multiple recent scientific studies, including one published in the journal Nature in 2020 by researchers from the University of Bremen and Utrecht University, the Caspian Sea stands to decline by between 9 meters and 18 meters by the end of the 21st century, with the 9-meter decline taking place under a medium emission scenario and the more catastrophic 18-meter decline taking place under a high emission scenario. In more straightforward terms, a 9-meter decline in the water level of the Caspian Sea from today will translate into a net loss of 23% of the Caspian Sea's current surface area.
And again, let me grab this. Was it Psalm 49:11? It says, Psalms 49:11, it says, "Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own name." So imagine them thinking they're going to go on forever and ever and ever, right? And now they have this major problem with receding water levels. Now they have to put funds in and put plans into motion to like save the water level, try to find ways to, refill it up, all these different things. So it's a lot. Right? This is Isaiah 47:12, right? Which we use this, of course, for America, the Edomites first and foremost, but all these nations, are feeling the effects of the downfall of this wicked kingdom. Right? Isaiah 47:12, it says, "Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail." So a lot of these nations are having problems around the world, and they're trying to figure it out. Right? What can I do? How to make this better? As you can see, they're trying to find a way to get around the dollar, which, it's a vain thing. That's a thing because y'all don't have time. It's bringing the downfall. It's bringing the downfall. So I do this here. Yeah, it's bringing the downfall of America with these other nations trying to get around the dollar, but they're actually thinking, like, okay, we got to really set this thing up, and who's gonna, what currency gonna have this, that, and the third, and really it's the end of America and it's the end of this kingdom, because this is just, America, this America right now, which is the revised Roman Empire, is the last kingdom, and then we take, the kingdom, But in their mind, they thinking for the future. They think for the long run. They're thinking about 2050 and 3,000, you know? So that's why a lot of these things that are taking place is going to affect them, you know, because now they're putting in plans and things in motion to save that little situation. But Psalms 21, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? So, you know, NLT says, why are the nations so angry? Why do they waste their time with people futile plans? You know, which is pointless, vain plans, right? It won't matter, you know, what they do or how they try to save themselves in the different, you know, counsels they have, all right? Because it's the end. Isaiah 47:13, thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels, that now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. And like I said, we use this for America, of course, but these other nations are feeling it too. They're also making plans, you know. You know, scriptures don't really, it really focuses on Babylon, right? Right? Because this is where the great destruction is going to take place. But just like the elder apostle Tarsh says all the time, Jacob's trouble is the world's trouble. It's everybody's trouble. You know, everybody's going through, you know, problems. All right. And this is a major problem, right? And that's why Russia is like, yo, we got to figure it out. You know, like I said, they got to rebuild ports, you know, and think about the future also.
Area, while the greater 18-meter decline will result in a net loss of 34% of it. Either way, it's likely that by the end of the century, an area roughly the size of Portugal will dry up and become new land out of the Caspian Sea, which will change the world map and global geography substantially within many of our own lifetimes. And most alarmingly of all, the northern parts of the Caspian Sea might disappear within just the next couple of decades by 2050. You see, the Caspian Sea can be broadly divided between three different geographic sub-basins: a northern, center, and southern basin, and the depths of water between all of these basins is radically different. The southern basin is the deepest of all, with depths reaching more than a full kilometer, approaching truly oceanic depths. The center basin is very deep as well, with depths reaching as deep as 788 meters, while by comparison, the northern basin is extremely, extremely shallow. The northern basin only has a mean depth of just 5 meters. And so despite making up roughly 1/3 of the Caspian Sea's total surface area, the northern basin only accounts for about 1% of the sea's total water volume, since it's so insanely shallow by comparison. As a result, the declining sea levels within the Caspian will overwhelmingly negatively affect the northern basin of the Caspian Sea first, bordering Kazakhstan and Russia, along with the shallow Kara-Bogaz Gull Inlet that's fully enclosed within Turkmenistan. Even under the 9-meter sea level loss scenario, which might happen by 2050, most of the shallower northern Caspian Sea will be lost, while even greater losses will happen all around the sea under the 18-meter loss scenario. Interestingly, the projected loss of sea level within the Caspian across the 21st century will be the opposite of the projected gains in sea level happening across the rest of the world's oceans. And it's appearing to be a hauntingly similar scenario to what happened to the nearby Aral Sea last century, which itself used to be the third largest lake in the world before Soviet-era mismanagement led to its nearly complete and irreversible collapse by the early 2000s. The larger Caspian Sea might now be heading in a disturbingly similar direction, and there are many reasons why. First of all, it's important to note that the Caspian Sea has experienced a very long previous history of both rapid decline and rapid growth. Over the past 40,000 years, the Caspian Sea's surface area has routinely expanded and contracted again with the climate, like during the last glacial period when cooler temperatures resulted in a much lower evaporation rate. But as the world warmed and the Eurasian glaciers melted, depriving the Caspian of a major water source, it shifted more or less into its current form at the start of recorded human history.
Right, you know, and basically over time, it's significantly more lower, right? And that's what Russia is pointing to. But these are, again, signs of the end. You know, again, this is another scripture used for Babylon, right? But all around the world, these things are happening and people are having the same, they're, you know, basically getting the same effects. This Isaiah 19:5. It says, "And the water shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up, and they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of the fence shall be empty and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither, the paper reeds by the brooks, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brook shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. Right? The fishers also shall mourn, and all they that cast angle into the brook shall lament, and they that spread nets upon the water shall languish. Moreover, they that work in the fine flax and they that weave network shall be confounded. All right. So these waterways is very important, right? And the Most High is, stressing these nations out, all right, regarding the waters. All right. So again, the reason why these waters are being dried up is because the Lord is doing it. And these are effects and signs of the end. All right. This second Esdras 9:4, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath the beginning and the end is manifest. Even so the times also the highest have plain beginnings and wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. All right, so water disappearing is the effects and signs of the end. All right, Lord willing, you edify from this lesson. Shalom to the whole elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.